Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
I got $5 for every time somebody said they hated me. Oh boy.
I would not be having to do this podcast.
Yeah. It's the arrival. I came in the league, went straight for the title.
He's got it! Jeremiah Smith!
The Michigan Wolverines shocked the college football world.
You know, some people gotta learn how to lose, man.
And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State.
This is The Rivalry. Proud to be part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
College football used to be fun for me.
Oh, it's a great time.
There was a commercial this weekend that I don't even know what it was for. It just popped up on the screen, said, "Do you enjoy college sports?" And the answer is no. No, I don't.
I love them.
It's Jace and JP, the Rivalry podcast, Michigan and Ohio State from River Radio Ministries, presented by Elevated Integrity Construction. We're also affiliate partners with the good folks over at Homage this year. Excited about that. More excited than I sound right now, because if you can't tell, if you're new here,
you didn't have a good weekend.
This is a Michigan Ohio State football podcast, which means I did not have a good weekend. Also, the NFL is terrible, which at least we can both agree on that. The Lions.
Well, as fun as my Saturday was, my Sunday was made up for it.
Browns looked awful. I assume I didn't watch them.
The Browns looked good.
It's fine. Not this.
Don't
not
open the wound.
Different place.
Don't open the wound.
It's fine.
70-0. 70-0. I'm fine. I'm in my happy place now.
Wherever you're listening right now, be sure to subscribe. Leave a review. It takes like 23 seconds. I said 25 seconds last week. It takes like 23 seconds. That does help us get in front of more eyes and ears. It's a small thing, but it means the world. Thank you for doing that. And on social media, at RivalPod and RivalPod.com. We'll go ahead and spin the wheel route for a little bit of an icebreaker question here. If you're not watching on YouTube, go ahead and do that. Again, that's at RivalPod. I had put one of the wheel route questions as just why, God?
Oh, I'm so glad.
But it didn't land on that one.
It did not.
Because you deleted it, but that's fine.
I am so glad that it landed on this, because I think it's worth noting, because we briefly talked about it.
The question is, can you learn anything from quote unquote cupcake games?
Yeah, and I brought this up because you and I were texting during the Ohio State game, and we briefly talked about this with each other. And I figured it would be something that we would hit on, but it was also a trend that I noticed just this week in college football. A lot of these top ranked teams playing cupcakes, for lack of a better word, and just absolutely smashing them into the ground. I forget who it was. One team scored like 76. Florida State. I think Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State played like East Texas A&M.
And it was like
77-3 or something.
Yeah, just disgusting. So I think it's worth having a conversation. Can you actually take anything away from these games?
I mean, do you want me to answer that first so that it can kind of lead you into Grambling, or because I'm guessing this is kind of what we talked about.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Can you learn anything? I mean, yes, you can learn some things, right? I mean, there is advantage to playing actual football. So let's talk specifically, right? Like, let's talk about an Ohio State scenario. Mm-hmm. Can you learn something about Ohio State as a team playing Grambling? No. Does it help Julian Sayin? Because I'm guessing that this is probably where you're going. Does it help Julian Sayin to play Grambling? Yeah, because it should be, and it was on Saturday, very easy throws, easy defenses to read. There's not a lot of pressure on him. It's a glorified practice, and it gives him live in-game reps. That's going to help a young quarterback. So does it help him? Yes. Can you learn something? You can learn maybe a little bit about your quarterback's raw abilities, but I don't know that you're learning, is Julian Sayin a good quarterback? I think we've already established he is. if we go back to even the Texas game, the question for me was never, is Julian Saint a good quarterback? Yeah, of course he is. He's a really good quarterback. My consternation, if you remember the Texas episode, was I'm not going to make this what a shining, poised, incredible moment for him, because I didn't think he had that, because I didn't think he needed that. He obviously looked fantastic against Grambling. Is it helpful for him? Yes. Did I learn about him? Yeah, I learned some things. He throws an accurate ball, but also guys are wide open. So do I learn a lot? No, not really. So I'm waffling on that a little bit for a reason, because I feel like, yes, in one sense, because an accurate ball is an accurate ball, but also no, because Jeremiah Smith has no one around him for 30 yards. I can hit him.
That's just normal. Yeah, that just doesn't really, it doesn't really matter. That would be my very caveat answer to that question is maybe, but not much. I would definitely lean on the not much. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think it's one of those, you for sure learn stuff about your program, about individual players, but you can't hang your hat on games like that. Like, you can't in the season go back and go, remember when Julian Saint absolutely torched that Grambling State defense? Yeah. Like, you can't have those conversations, but you can look at it more as through the analytical eye of, okay, he completed his first 16 passes. He was 18 of 19 for the game. The one incompletion was an interception that, to be honest, and this is kind of where I want to lean on the opposite side of it, is it showed me that he, mentality-wise, can make those mistakes, because it was an absolute forced throw that in the moment you're going, why not? It was the definition of screw it. I've got Ohio State receivers there.
And that's what I was going to say too, to that is that even from the Michigan side of it, I would look at that and say, why not take that risk? Why not see, can I fit it in that window? Why not? See? And I did not see the interception because, again, I had other things to do than watch Ohio State beat Grambling.
Well, but it was one of those things where, and this is going to be the nitpicky side of this, right?
Well, and by the way, it was 70-0. You have to nitpick something.
And because that's what you do when you're an irrational fan.
Correct.
But I'm looking at that throw, and we were up 28-0 at the time, I believe. And I was so mad that he threw that interception, because in my mind, I'm like, that's just not smart ball placement. I get that you've got the best receivers in the nation. I get the idea of, I'm going to go up there and let my guys try and just make a play on it. I understand that, but I don't want that to become stuff where it almost creates those bad habits in these bad games.
Sure.
And so that's my only downside of it. But I thought, and this is going away from the Julian Saint argument of this, the one thing that I learned this past weekend that I probably already knew, Bo Jackson to me, despite the competition, showed the most explosiveness in that running back room. And there is no reason in my mind, Donaldson, Peoples, both of them have not really impressed me in the Texas game. They didn't really impress me even in this. I know Donaldson averaged like 9 yards a carry. He had like 45, 50 yards. But Bo Jackson just looked like the truth to me. So I'm going into this next week, and obviously we'll talk about this more. And my question mark is still, okay, well, you've got 3 guys now in my mind in that running back room that you've got to pick from. And one of them I feel like needs to be the solidified guy. Yeah. And it probably ain't who's already doing it.
So I pulled up the box here. And again, it is so, we say this ad nauseum, and this should be straightforward, but just grabbing box scores does not tell you everything. Mm-hmm. You have to take into account, how many rushers did Ohio State have in this game? How many attempts? What's the competition? You have to take all that into consideration. But to your point, Donaldson had 5 carries for 45 yards. So he's averaging 9 yards a carry. That's good, but also 45 yards, 59 yards for James Peoples. And again, this was a complete and utter domination by Ohio State. Like that's not. The issue is less about, well, his stat line. Well, yeah, they didn't have that many carries, and if you're averaging 9 yards a carry, that's pretty good. We'll take that. But I do think that this is an area where I would say that you learn nothing about that running back room, and that the Texas game, in my mind, you almost kind of skip this one, and you probably skip the Ohio game this week. You won't learn anything else about the running back room until you go to Seattle, in my mind. I don't think you learn anything about the run game from this game. I don't think you learn. You don't learn much about the run game from this game. I don't think you learn much about it this coming week. That running back room, I said in the preseason before the Texas game, was a big highlighted in orange position group for Ohio State. And I would say that continues to be the case. I don't think that this weekend told us anything about that one way or the other.
I don't think it solidified an answer, but I think it showed you a glimpse at a guy that probably deserves a little bit more playing time. And
that could be the case.
And the thing at the end of the day is, like, do you learn something through these games? Yeah, you get a really, really good look at some of your young guys that you just don't really get a good enough chance to see in the spring game. So guys like Riley Pettijohn, a freshman linebacker, comes into the game, has a nice pass breakup. He has a forced fumble. He has a touchdown recovery in the end zone. Dude was just making plays, just absolutely showing off why he was one of the top commits. You have guys like Aaron Scott Jr. making a great play on the ball. You got guys like Bo Jackson. Tavian St. Clair got in the game a little bit. Mylan Graham got in the game for a little bit. Like, you see these young guys that you can start to kind of get excited for that get a good amount of playing time in live football.
And that's the advantage of playing. I want to think how I want to say this, because it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. I'll say this first. That is the advantage of playing a program like a Grambling State or a Nevada or a New Mexico, for that matter, though. I would say New Mexico is above where Nevada's at, and certainly both are above where Grambling's at. There are bad FBS teams, and then there are bad FCS teams, But I think that is the advantage, is that you do get guys live reps that you can't replicate in practice, and that's good. You get to see some of the younger talent. You get Tavian St. Clair's not going to see the field this year, except for games like that, right? Barring injuries and all that other stuff. I think the disappointing thing about playing games like that, and I would say this for Michigan too, playing even Central this weekend, Ohio State playing Ohio this weekend, is it's not how much fun from a fan perspective. Is it fun? Is it fun to beat Grambling by 70?
Absolutely.
Would you not rather?
I was stress free. I didn't pace not a once on Saturday.
I didn't pace not a once. See, and this is where, like, I feel like we watch football very similarly. I would still have been pacing. I would have, maybe not pacing, but I can't sit to watch a football game. I have to stand.
I was forced because I was in a press box. So I was forced. Yeah, otherwise, you are correct, good sir. Yeah. I would have been walking from the kitchen back to the living room every single drive. I'd like to see, I think, less teams like this on the schedule. And having one or two, I suppose at the end of the day, is fine. I would rather it be none. Whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, so we're looking at here. Before we get, as we move into Ohio, one thing I did want to mention here is when we're talking about younger guys getting in, you had mentioned something to me in passing that I want to kind of dive into here. So Lincoln Kienholz, is he a concern for you? And the reason I'm asking this is because you texted me and said Lincoln Kienholz is a concern for me. Yeah, so I think that was my exact text.
Unpack that a little bit. He's obviously was in the quarterback battle with Julian Sayin. Sayin wins the job. He's QB2. What is the concern? If you're an Ohio State fan, maybe you've already kind of looked into this, but for the Michigan folks or for the wider college football world who might not really have any semblance of Kienholz outside of that Mizzou game, which was not, it was fun for me, but to be fair, it was not a fair assessment necessarily. I don't know. Where do you sit with QB2?
Yeah, this is going to sound, and because it is, like the least analytical answer ever in the world. There's just something to be said about the eye test to me. And I said the same thing about Devin Brown when he was with the Buckeyes for years. You can just tell when you're watching whoever QB1 is and then the next guy up. You can just tell the difference. You could see it back when Kyle McCord and we were talked about, it could be Kyle McCord, it could be Devin Brown. And then we saw both of them play. And despite your thoughts on Kyle McCord as QB1, if you are not a blind man and you're watching those two play football, you could very clearly see a sizable gap between the two of them. And that is how I felt watching even Julian Sayin versus Lincoln Kienholz. And Kienholz didn't even play bad against Grambling. Like, he went out, he threw a touchdown.
6 of 7, 71 yards.
He was fine. The offense just flowed differently when he was behind center.
Is that because you've got like fourth string guys in with him.
I think that's part of it, but I think
I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. I think what it comes down to for me, and I don't know if people are going to agree with this or not, but it's the same feeling I had with Devin Brown. And honestly, I would probably even make the case. I think I have made the case with guys like, I can't even think of his name right now, blanking. Guy from Michigan, backup quarterback, Davis. Jaden Davis. Yeah, Jaden Davis. I for some reason could not think of it, and that's fine with me. It's the same thought I have with him. You've got this highly recruited guy sitting in the wing that you're wanting valuable reps for, and it's circumstantial too, right? Because like, do I want Tavian St. Clair out there or Keenholz? Should a Julian Sain go down? I'm probably going to want the veteran in Keenholz back there. I ain't going to be happy about it, but like, I'm going to want somebody that's been there before, that's been around the program to at least go in there and give some stability to that. But in a game like Grambling State, a blowout, I want to see Tavian St. Clair over Keenholz every single time. I want St. Clair to go out there and play the entire second half and get some really valuable minutes. That's more so what my point was I know everybody in that stadium knows Keenholz is not the guy. If Keenholz has to step into that QB1, take that orange marker and circle QB instead of running back room. But
isn't that then the guy that needs to get more reps than the third stringer who's not going to play at all?
I don't think so. And that's where I guess I disagree. And maybe this is just kind of a throw it in mentality, because I don't feel comfortable at all going in there and throwing Keenholz in should he need to be the backup.
But I would also say, though, if Tavian St. Clair is that far down the depth chart, and again, I say that, and I'm, by the way, I'm not making a comparison here one way or the other. Michigan's starting a true freshman quarterback, and it has the ups and downs or whatever. And you know, I think Bryce has a much higher ceiling. But what I'm saying is that given the choice between Tavian St. Clair, who clearly the coaching staff think is below Sain and below Keenholz, I think you probably want your QB2 taking as many snaps as he possibly can in this game.
But I think to counter that argument, you saw it last year, even with Will Howard. Devin Brown was QB2, but then Devin Brown was going to get beat out for the job by Julian Sain going into this season, which is why he decided to transfer to Cal. Is because
just to get beat out in Cal.
And he got beat out in Cal. So like to counter that point, I don't think that ultimately matters. I think there are just some guys that, for lack of a better phrase, are just room fillers. They're warm bodies that if you need them in a pinch, you can throw them in there. Keenholz has been with the program for a couple of years. He's a guy that when we get towards the end of the season, I'm going to highly target as a guy that's going to be in the transfer portal.
Yep.
He's going to try and go somewhere else because this is clearly Julian Sain's team and the future sitting right behind him in St. Clair. And so to me as a Buckeye fan, I get the idea that you're saying of, okay, well, if he's going to be QB2 on the depth chart, you want him to not be rusty should his number need to be called. But I'm praying Sain stays healthy all year. And I want to see the future. I want the guy that I know you're going to hand the keys to the Lambo to. I want to see what we've got with him.
How many points do you beat Ohio by this weekend? This is more time than we should have spent about Ohio State and Grambling.
Man, yeah. It ain't going to be fun for Ohio. Yeah. It'll be fun for Ohio State. They're like 32.5 point favorites right now.
Seems generous.
It's a night game, which night games at the shoe are cool. But why can we not do that against Penn State? Side note, my prediction, 45-10 Buckeyes.
Wow. This is where I usually take your line and say, we are so close. 42-10.
Okay.
Yeah. Ohio is better than Grambling because they are an actual FBS team. Well, they beat West Virginia this weekend.
And they lost to Rutgers in week
Barely.
1. Well,
Ohio probably should have beat Rutgers.
Don't you say that.
Ohio should be 2-0 right now.
But they're not.
And it also would not.
Here's the thing that I'm going to say that you're going to dislike. Are you ready for this?
That's this entire podcast, my guy.
I want to preface this by saying this isn't an exact comparison. I'm not that stupid. I am, on occasion, as you'll hear in my stupid genius, not the brightest. The thing that I am looking at the most in this matchup is the Parker Navarro matchup with this defense, only because his ability to scramble, make plays on the run. He's currently their leading rusher, as well as obviously their current leading passer. I'm excited to see how this defense adapts to a guy with that ability, because I think down the road, when you face a guy like a Bryce Underwood, whose skill set wise, although better than Parker Navarro, is going to be the well, maybe after this weekend in Norman.
Sorry, we couldn't all play Grambling State. My bad.
You should have. He would have looked a lot better.
I would have preferred.
But I think going up against a guy with his skill set that's very similar to what you're going to see with a guy like
it's
Underwood,
a dual threat, right?
Yeah, is what I'm kind of looking at. Obviously, there's different levels to that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited, just like I talked about last year when Nico Iamaleava, whatever. Did I say that right the first time?
You didn't. You mumbled your way through it.
That's fine. That's every single hard name ever.
It's like when you're reading through Leviticus and you're just like, and so-and-so begot the...
Yeah. I totally said it right.
Yeah.
It's like when they played him last year. I wanted to see how they were able to contain a guy like that. And that's the interesting part of this.
No, I would agree with that. I would at least agree with when you have massive underdog teams come in like this and they have a guy who can do that, they put it all on his shoulders, right? They're going to put it all on Navarro's shoulders, and you will get everything that he's got. And so that will at least make it fun for like a quarter. And that's it, because then they also have to play defense. And I'm just not sure that the MAC can hang with Jeremiah Smith.
This weekend watching Grambling, like the very first touchdown Jeremiah Smith grabbed, I was like, your team can't even be upset at whoever's guarding him or Tate.
What are you supposed to do?
Usually I feel like in stuff like that, you've got a blown coverage where they're that wide open or something. You go back in the sidelines like, come on, man, what are you doing? And they were probably just like, look, man.
I love that they asked the coach in the presser beforehand, like, how do you feel going into this game? And he looked at me and said, we've got a great band.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, they do.
Did you hear him after the game?
No.
I was sitting in traffic for, like, no joke. I watched the entire first half of the Michigan game in my car in the parking lot because it just wasn't moving. But I was listening to him talk, and they said something.
Mickey Joseph. Sorry, his name escaped me there.
Yeah, Mick Joseph. And they were talking about, like, they asked him two questions just about, like, his thoughts and what he said to the team. And he goes, look, guys, we're not sugarcoating this. We knew what we were here to do. And there's levels to this. And he had been a part of the staff that was on the 2019 LSU team that won, that had a loaded roster. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow. And he said, that Ohio State team is one of them ones. And he said, I've been a part of it with LSU. I know what it looks like. Ohio State's got it. Then they asked him about Jeremiah Smith, and he kind of chuckled, and he said, he could have started for me, sure. Like, just the amount of talent that roster has. And he said, don't take that as me going in and saying, we're not going to give you everything we had, because we did.
Yeah.
But
you also,
they knew what they signed up for.
There's also a reality to it, right? Like, this is not, we talked a couple weeks ago about how, there's FCS teams that beat teams every single year, but it's usually like they'll beat UTEP or they'll beat Indiana on and off on a year or something like that. And those teams are usually North Dakota State, South Dakota State, teams like that. Good FCS teams. This is not a good FCS team. This was a 5-7 FCS team. This is what you expected. They are who we thought they were, that sort of thing. Hey, but maybe, just maybe, you feel a little bit like Billy Napier in Florida. Yikes. You're trying to build like a champion, but you might not know how to execute it against South Florida, which is in the middle of Florida for some reason. Aaron and the team at Elevated Integrity Construction have a winning pedigree and a team of All-Americans, a juggernaut of the industry. They've built a dynasty of championship builders for your home, church, or business build. Go with the folks with integrity right there in their name. It's at elevatedintegrity.com. Rivalry is also proud partners of our friends at Homage this year. And if you're watching on YouTube, yes, they got beat by the Packers yesterday, but I am wearing my retro 1950s Detroit Lions shirt from Homage, and it is so comfortable. Since 2007, Homage has been helping fans pay homage to the people, places, teams, and moments that matter most to them, with quality craftsmanship, elite storytelling, and trademarked legendary comfort. And you can get yourself, they've got Ohio State stuff, they've got NFL stuff, obviously, like this Lions shirt. You can go into the show notes below, click the link there, we'll take you to Homage, get yourself something, because when you do at that link, not only are you going to get the most amazing merch that you will ever have in your closet, but you're also going to support the podcast when you do that. So go get yourself something from our friends at Homage. We're proud to be affiliate partners with them this year. The Rivalry also proud members of the Varsity Network from Learfield again this season. Varsity Network is the must-have app if you call yourself a college football fan, which hopefully you do if you're listening to this podcast. Live broadcasts, on-demand podcasts just like this one, free to download. Find the Varsity Network in the App Store and be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast.
And crazy exciting news, something that is brand new to us here at the Rivalry. We are officially a part of the YouTube Partner Program. We're going to talk about that more, but very excited, very thankful to be a part of that this season as well.
If you want to support the podcast by either giving kind of a one-time, like, hey, here's $5, I hate you. Great, fantastic. Go to rivalpod.com. You can also do it with like a note that says, hey, you guys do a good podcast. That would be fine.
Yeah,
too.
if I got $5 for every time somebody said they hated me, oh boy.
I would not be having to do this podcast.
Yeah.
You can also get yourself some custom Rival Pod merch as well. We've got the most comfortable t-shirts we've ever made at that website as well. So whether it's through rivalpod.com or through the show notes at Homage, you need to go get yourself something nice, okay? And I think that is all we need to talk about on the podcast today.
Oh,
so
I have
thank
some
you
stuff
so
still on my notes. Are you sure you don't want to cover it? It says something 2413 L.
Let's talk about 2413 at large.
That's all I wrote. You know what that means?
All right. Yeah. Let's talk Michigan, Oklahoma here. And I have spun my wheels trying to think of even where to start with this game. So I may end up needing to rely on you at some point to ask a specific question.
Are you sure about that?
No.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about nothing at this point.
You and Sharon Moore are in the same boat.
Let me just preface it and just kind of launch in by saying, like, across the board, this was just an unacceptable outing from Michigan. A lot of the questions that will come are going to center around Bryce Underwood. The stat line was terrible. I have no concerns about Bryce. I don't have any concerns about Bryce Underwood.
This season or in the future?
This season and in the future. I don't have any concerns about that. My biggest concerns right now have very little to do with quarterback. My two biggest concerns would be offensive line and coaching. Those are my two biggest concerns. And I think if I had to pick one, I think it would probably be offensive line. And here's why. So Harbaugh a few years ago laid it out pretty well, where he said there's one position in football that relies on no other position to be great, and it's offensive line. He said that same position is the one that everybody else relies on to be able to be great, to be able to do your job. So in other words, offensive line doesn't need the quarterback to be great to hold a block, to do their job, to create gaps for the run game. That's straight up helmet on helmet. My guy is better than your guy. I don't need anybody. What the receivers do doesn't matter. Either my offensive line is good or it's not. And it starts and stops with those, five guys up front. Everybody else relies on that offensive line, though. Mm-hmm. Your quarterback, you can have, and I think, no, he was referencing something else. But you could have John Elway back there. If he doesn't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter. You can have Adrian Peterson taking handoffs. If he doesn't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter. You can have Randy Moss running routes. If your quarterback doesn't have time to get him the ball, it doesn't matter. So offensive line is a huge concern for me, and it ties into coaching because, and we'll get into some of the nitty gritty of this. I think not all, but some of the reason why the game plan from Chip Lindsey just looked abysmal in this game is I don't think he trusted the offensive line. So there was question early on. This is not all of it, by the way. There's plenty of blame to go around for the way this game was called. But early on, I was getting people texting me saying, why are we throwing screen passes left and right? And I said, I don't know. And as I've thought about it and listened to people talk about it, I've thought, well, I wonder if they just didn't trust the offensive line and thought, well, we're going to have to just get the ball out quick then. That might be part of it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Why did the run game outside of the Justice Haynes, opening third quarter touchdown run, which was fantastic? Why did the run game struggle straight up the gut? Well, because if you don't create space, there's nowhere to go. And that says less about Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes than it does about the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Within that, though, within that, you also have to account for the fact that neither coordinator, I'm talking about Chip Lindsey right now, but Wink as well, neither coordinator looked like they knew what they were doing. Now, sure, some of that for Chip Lindsey could be, what else am I supposed to call here? They also insisted on trying to run it up the middle over and over and over again, which is still the bread and butter of the Michigan team, but it's not working. Ask Chip Kelly, at some point, do you need to adjust?
Yes, the answer is yes.
And so I'm not going to, I can't put the entire game on coordinators, nor will I put it all on the offensive line. The reality is the running backs weren't great in this game. Bryce wasn't great in this game. The receivers, I actually didn't think had much opportunity, to be honest with you. I didn't have a big issue with that. And that's just the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I didn't think they just weren't good enough. I didn't think that the defense was terrible. They gave up a ton of yards. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that they played terribly, but they can't get off the field on third down. They continued to miss tackles. So again, when I say they didn't play terrible, I'm not looking at going, this defense is trash, it's terrible. No, but there were some significant issues in this game. They couldn't get off the field on third down. The number of missed tackles that they had, there was one I put on our Twitter account at Rival Pod, where it's Oklahoma runs an option play. And Mateer pitches it out, and there are two Michigan guys there, and they both miss him. And the play that should have been stopped right there goes for like 7 more yards and a first down. That's just fundamental execution problems. So we've got that going on. You can't wrap up John Mateer. You're dropping interceptions. And on top of that, I've got Wink Martindale going back to like his early 2024 stuff. He ended the year super well. He took a lot of heat and then ended the year really well against... frankly, I mean, he coached a pretty good game against Indiana, coached a good game against Northwestern, who couldn't, but coached out of his mind against Ohio State and Alabama, won those games. But then in this game, at one point, TJ Guy is dropping back into coverage, and I'm going, why are we doing this again? This is Mason Graham lining up on the edge again. What are we doing? It's deeply concerning. I guess this is where I'm getting to, and then I'll stop monologuing. You can ask some specifics, but I am deeply concerned about the game management and the coaching under Sharon Moore. I gave him and the coordinators a lot of heat last year that I think they deserved. And I said in the preseason episode, I'm giving a mulligan because the late Harbaugh departure, frankly, coming off a national title, the transfer portal window is suggested, blah, blah, blah. There were many reasons why last year went the way it did. Look at the quarterback room. This year, there are no excuses. And so to watch Sharon Moore burn timeouts for no reason, to call a run on 3rd and 6, to make it 4th and 2 just to kick a field goal instead of going for it, to punt on the 38-yard line when Dominic Zavada is your kicker. There are game management issues that I have deep concerns about that popped up last year that are popping up again. I have concerns about Wink Martindale, who has always felt like a rental at DC, that are popping up again. I don't have as many concerns about Chip Lindsey. I think I'm very comfortable with him. I did not think he called a good game, but I've given you also some reasons why he may have called things the way he did. But I have deep concerns about game management from the coaching. And frankly, development of the offensive line. I think the recruiting has been good. And so I don't know if it's a combination, and it probably is a combination of injuries. Andrew Babalola, 5-star freshman who is probably going to start, goes out before the first game. Giovanni El Hadi is now, we'll probably find out by the time this episode posts. This is recorded Monday morning. Yeah. It is probably going to be out for a significant amount of time. I would guess, I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to guess that's going to come out at the presser today. And so some of it is depth. Some of it is young guys who are high recruits, but just because you're a high recruit doesn't mean you could step in on offensive line that quickly from high school or, as an underclassman into that environment. But I have deep concerns. Sharon is an offensive line guy. This is his specialty. This is what he played at Oklahoma. This is what he does. Like this is his thing. So if our offensive line is one of the weakest parts of that offense, then either Grant Newsome needs to go, or Sharon needs to step in and be able to coach better. But I just have deep concerns that if you can't protect Bryce Underwood, you're going to get him hurt, or he's going to say, I respect myself too much to just not have any protection around me. At some point, I want to stop hearing we've got to look in the mirror and it starts and stops with me. We know! I know it starts and stops with you. And I'm deeply concerned that 2025 is going to be a repeat of 2024, just with a better quarterback. And if that happens, then are we punting to 26 already? What makes you think 26 would be different? And you have the trajectory that could very quickly set this team back for a while. Is that overreaction to one game? Maybe, but maybe not.
Well, and it's only week 2, so I think those overreactions are fair because you have a short tape to go off of.
I have 15 games under his tenure, and I have felt very confident in his coaching in very few of them.
And I think you already hit the nail on the head for a handful of the points that I have to bring up. I thought outside of the one run to open the second half, Justice Haynes in the run game was basically non-existent. They had, I think, 71 yards total in the game.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of that has more to do with offensive line than the talent, for sure. For
sure. Justice Haynes is a dog.
I think Jordan Marshall is too, by the way.
But I was surprised. I talked about it last week that I thought the run game was going to be the difference maker. And when they opened up the second half with that 75-yard run, I thought, here's kind of the turning point they needed. The other thing that I wanted to point on that you didn't specifically touch on was almost half of the Michigan drives were abysmal. I mean, less than 10 yards, no first downs really gained at all. And I wrote them down. 3 plays, 5 yards. 3 plays, -2 yards. 3 plays, -5 yards. 4 plays, 8 yards, ended in a field goal. 5 plays, 8 yards. They took a 5-yard sack, so that's what made them end up punting. It gave me remnants of last year's offense at times where they looked a little bit lost. They played ultra conservative, especially in different scenarios. Like you already talked about this. It's a 21-7 game. You're at like the 38 or something. You get down to almost like the 23, 22 yard line for Oklahoma. Zavada, as great as he is, had missed a kick earlier in the game. You know that you going from 21-17 to 10 or 21-7 to 21-10, making a 2-game score, still a 2-game score.
Yeah.
It should be common sense. 4th and 2, you've got Justice Haynes, you've got Bryce Underwood.
And I understand to an extent that you have your offensive line has clearly struggled, and you assume because Oklahoma stacked the box because they could, that's a tough ask. So I get it in one sense, but I also would say, because you struggled to move the ball, you can't come away with just a field goal.
Well, and that's where I look at it and I go, there's 2 things, right? You go in.
By the way, this isn't second guessing. This is in the moment. I'm going, what are we doing?
Well, it's 21-7, and either you don't trust your offense enough to get you back in the position to score points, which, it's still a 2-score game. You're going to need them to get you down there to score some more points. Or you do trust them to take you back down there, which if you do trust them to take you back down there to get those 2 scores, why don't you trust them to get you 2 yards to continue to try and put it in the end zone there?
Yeah.
There's mental mistakes like that for more that you saw last year, and you already talked about this, that you're seeing again rear its ugly head, that I think are going to cause some problems down the road.
Well, it's causing, my guy, I mean, and we agree here, it's causing problems now.
For sure.
This was a massive, again, the people, and again, maybe I'll be accused of this. I don't feel this way, but the people who are going, the season's over. Toss in the trash. We're done. I don't think that's the case. But if nothing changes, we're going to have a repeat of last year.
Well, and I think we talked about it last week.
That's not crazy talk. If your offensive line can't improve, which, by the way, your offensive line can get better the more they play together. But I have deep concerns about this. Well, I have deep concerns about.
We talked about it last week. We talked about it last week. If Michigan goes into Norman and they pull out a win, this is a playoff team.
100%.
And if they go out there and lose, it solidifies what we both already thought, that this is not a playoff team. Yeah, I think watching that performance solidified that for me.
I said that they would go 9-3, and I think and plenty of other folks have pointed this out too. For folks that, and there were folks who were higher on Michigan's ceiling this year than I was. I said 9-3, probably not a playoff team. That feels about right. You might end up 8-4 for that matter. Mm-hmm. I think not 9-3, beating Ohio State 9-3, missing the playoffs is about what I expected this season, that feels very much on the table still. Is that a successful season? I don't know. But my point in bringing that up is most people, myself included, including people that were higher on Michigan's ceiling this year, had Oklahoma as one of the key losses to this in this season. Like most people expected, hey, if Michigan goes, whether it's 10-2, 9-3, 8-4, Oklahoma was the one that was like, yeah, that's going to be a tough ask. That's going to be a tough ask. So it's not the fact that losing at Oklahoma is a cause for concern. Like I predicted 28-20. We got 24-13. Okay, we're in the same range. What is a cause for concern is not the loss. It's the laundry list of items that it brought to the forefront. Now you could spin this a couple different ways if you really wanted to, and I don't think that you actually should. But if you want to try to find any silver lining here, right? This is probably the best defensive line you're going to see all year. If it's not the one, it's one of the top 2, maybe 3. Okay, this is one of the best defensive lines you'll see all year. This is probably the second best team you'll see all year. Ohio State would obviously be the top competition there. And despite everything that happened in this game, you were in a 1-score game in their building in the fourth quarter late.
They were trying their darndest to get you guys in, and you politely declined every time. And I thank you for that.
And again, that is admittedly and purposely quite the spin on that. But if you are trying to find silver linings in this game for Michigan, you can go, well, we played a terrible football game with a barely 18-year-old quarterback in his first road start in the SEC against a Brett Venables defense. And we were in a 1-score game late in this one in their building. Sure, you could look at it that way. And there might be some validity to that. But if you really watched the game, this team felt underprepared. This team felt outcoached. And I'm a fan of, like, I want you to come in with some fire. I liked that Sharon came in with some fire, right? Pumping up the crowd, blowing kisses to him as he comes out. That's great. But then you got to walk the walk, dog. Like this has been one of billions of my biggest beefs with Ohio State is the kings of running their mouths and then not showing up when Michigan
love it when it works, but you hate it when it don't.
They've been questioning our coach and our integrity, and today we're Buckeyes and this matters, and today's the day, and revenge is here. What's done in the dark comes to the light, and it hasn't mattered for 4 years.
It goes back to years and years ago when you guys had I can't even remember his name now because it's been that long, but you guys had the one dude that just ran his mouth. Oh, it's going to be a revenge tour, and we're coming back, and blah, blah, blah.
Chase Winovich.
Yes, Winovich. He played for the Browns. I should have known that. Played for the Browns. He sat the bench most of the time. But you had Chase Winovich come out there, and it's a revenge tour. This is why I came back, and blah, blah, blah. And then he lost every game that he was supposed to go out there and win.
Well, no, he lost the Ohio State game.
Which is the only game you're supposed to go out there and win. The one thing we didn't really talk about here is Bryce Underwood. And I think that there's different levels to this, right? Because I don't think it's far off, but I do think there's some cause for concern. Not overall, not looking at his career as a Wolverine. This doesn't make me think he's going to be any less valuable of a quarterback 2 or 3 years down the road. I'm talking this season in particular. 9 of 24, 142, 0 touchdowns, no mistakes, which is a good thing. But going into this game, you already talked about it. Ohio State's obviously going to be the best defense he played. But now I'm looking at some of the road games you guys have.
Sure.
One coming up here, not this weekend, but next at Nebraska, where, sure, they're not some phenomenal defense, but that's going to be a rowdy environment that's going to be ready for that game.
Yeah.
You've got at USC later on.
Yep. USC has a good defensive line as well.
There's going to be a couple of games now where I'm going, is he as ready as maybe I thought? And I think that he showed glimpses, even in this game, despite a poor performance, because I think we both agree, 9 of 24, 142, and we're not just box watching. Like, he had some nice throws.
I suffered through the entirety of that game. I've gone back to watch highlights through it. I'm not going to go back and watch the entire thing because no.
Who would want to except me?
Sure.
I'll be doing that over lunch. But a really very average, below average performance. And it's his, like you said, it's his very first road game against a tough as nails, honestly, potential college football playoff team.
If they can stop shooting themselves in the foot, yeah.
Yeah, and you already talked about this. We both talked about this. Oklahoma, honestly, if you're scoreboard watching, you're going, this was a pretty close game. Michigan was outcoached. They were outplayed that entire game.
Yeah.
Oklahoma had 2 turnovers, one that led to a Michigan field goal. The other one was just a really bad throw by Mateer that Michigan just picked off. There was no like weirdness about it or whatever. But when I'm looking at Bryce Underwood and this game, I'm going, okay, his first real big game, he very clearly struggles. So now I'm looking at some of those games I mentioned, Nebraska, USC. I'm looking at even some of the home games that you guys have, Washington in particular, where I'm looking at that and I'm going, I don't know if I feel 100% confident. Now, they're not going to be out of those games. This isn't me saying that they're going to for sure lose those.
Your question
but I'm
is
turning my head a little bit now.
Your question is, what's my confidence level for this season?
Yeah, was it shaking even a little bit going into the rest of this year in particular? Because I'm on the same boat that I'm sure you are. Even despite this performance, do I think Bryce Underwood in his career as a Wolverine is going to be fine? Absolutely. I have 0. Yeah. That did not move the needle for me at all.
You're curious about my confidence for this season.
This year. Are you at least a little bit, not panic mode, but like some concern, right?
I mean, I think you've got to leave that feeling concerned. I mean, I would still say that a lot of my concern has most of my concerns don't have to do with him. Most of my concerns have to do with the time he's being given. Again, like we said, it doesn't matter who you've got at quarterback. If you can't protect, it doesn't matter. My concern is heavily more so on the offensive line, giving him time to do anything. My concern that comes with that is not so much Chip Lindsey's play calling, because I thought his play calling against New Mexico was great. I thought it was not good against Oklahoma, and maybe there's a reason for that. But I do have concerns if the offensive line is not giving him time, if it's causing the play calls to be what I just saw on Saturday, which doesn't set him up for success, because he's then, throwing these little screen passes that are getting blown up. Now, maybe not every defense is Brett Venables' defense. Maybe most aren't, but you are going to see some that are going to be. Again, I'm going to say second best defense that we're going to see this year. But also Nebraska's got a good one too.
I'm excited for that.
So it sounds like I'm skirting the question, and I'm not. I'm telling you what the factors are that are
like on a scale of 1 to 10.
The factors that are more concerning to me than Bryce Underwood are those two things. It starts up front. I thought that when he moved the pocket, he was actually pretty good. I thought he had a really nice play to Samaj early, where he had 2 guys coming at him, and he just kind of sidearm flung it around him, found Samaj. Had a nice ball deep to Donovan McCulley, had a good ball. He moved the pocket and found Channing Goodwin. It also, and we'd be remiss to not mention this, it did not help that Marwin Klein did not play in this game. He's not Colston Loveland, but that is look at the way Michigan has used their tight ends for years. That's a huge loss, because who's your safety blanket for young quarterbacks? Usually the tight end. Mm-hmm. Not having Marwin Klein, which, by the way, just as put a pin in that for a moment, the number of injuries that pop up during the practice week is insane. And I had somebody remark, because I was commenting about just the difference from Ben Herbert going with Harbaugh to the Chargers and Justin Tress kind of coming up and stepping into that role, and just the number of massive amounts of injuries that just pop up every week. And I mean, the injury report comes out and I'm going, wait, Derek Moore is questionable? Marwin Klein's not even playing? When did this happen? And I had somebody put, and Michigan's got Al-Hadi going down, Zeke Berry going down. And I said something about the injuries, and I had somebody respond, somebody on the Michigan beat who I respect a lot, who said, well, he can't stop, he's supposed to make, getting your ankle stepped on not hurt. Like, that's not what obviously not what I'm saying. I'm saying that strength and conditioning is a huge part of keeping you healthy in game. Yeah, there's unavoidable stuff that happens. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. My concern is less, well, Zeke Berry got his ankle stepped on, or Al-Hadi or whatever. My concern is more, what about what's happening over here that I've got 15 guys on the questionable report now? Like, guys get hurt, but that was not happening. That was just not happening under Herbert and Harbaugh. And so I don't know what we're doing, but it's not where this was an issue last year. It's an issue again this year. But all that to say, that's just a side tangent. Not having Marlon Klein certainly hurt. I thought Bryce there was clear miscommunication on multiple plays between either him and Justice Haynes. Obviously, that became a thing. I don't think it was really a thing. There was miscommunication either from him or from McCauley on another play. So yeah, I mean, there's some concern there for sure, but I don't think that that's where most of my concern lies. That's a long way to say jury's still out.
Scale of 1 to 10. What's your confidence level with him moving forward for this season?
I think my confidence level with him is a 7.
Okay, that's probably where I would land.
I think it's a 7 because I'm trying to factor in the fact that I likened this in the blog this week at rivalpod.com. I likened this to a roller coaster. And this is not a I just came up with an amazing analogy no one's ever thought of before. It's going to be up, it's going to be down. It's going to feel a little inside out maybe this weekend. Stay on the ride. Stay on the ride. Know that this is what you're going to get. This is excuse me. This is why, and by the way, I predicted and I think that Bryce was going to be the starter and should have still been the starter. This is why Michigan why they brought in Mikey Keene and considered starting him till the injury. I still think Bryce was the right move, by the way. But this is why. It's because when you start a true freshman, you get true freshman mistakes. I don't think most of this game had anything to do with him.
No, and you talked about it, and I don't want to spend a ton of time because we got to talk about Central Michigan here. But
the
one thing that you talked about that I
think
it's interesting, and I think you and I are actually going to land on the same side here, but you had the little outburst over on the sidelines between Bryce Underwood and Justice Haynes, and people were reading into it, obviously from the Ohio State side of things too, going, oh, there's trouble in paradise, blah, blah, blah. I actually love that I saw that if I was a Michigan fan. I love that because there's your quarterback, the person that's supposed to be the leader of the team. And I even texted you because I thought I was listening to the game at that point, driving home. So I didn't get to see what had particularly happened. But that kind of competitiveness, that fire is exactly what I want with the guy taking snaps behind center. That kind of passion, desire to win that he doesn't care about. Like Justice Haynes is the best offensive weapon you guys have outside of him. So for them to go at each other and try to push each other, it was very evident after the fact that it wasn't I hate this guy, he's messing up, I'm going to call him out. It was we've got to be better.
They're competitors. And Sharon even said they're competitors and they both want to be right. Mm-hmm. When Justice Haynes broke off the touchdown run, who's right there? It's Bryce.
Now, if that stuff continually happens throughout the season, then sure, maybe we have a different conversation. But I think right now, don't read into it.
I'll say this. I don't think you need to read into it. I don't like it. Personally, I get your point, and I know there's a lot of people that feel that way. I don't care for it because to me, I look at that even if it's a competitive thing, and I don't think that there's any beef there. I think that I think those guys are fine. I think those guys are totally fine. To me, maybe it's optics, but to me, that just feeds into my lack of belief in. I don't know. It makes me a little bit uneasy to go, are the coaches setting a good culture here? Mm-hmm. And again, I am not saying that they aren't. I don't think culture is the issue here. I think that's probably just two competitive guys. One of them thought that the other made the wrong read of some kind. But in a game that was so frustrating all around and already frustration and concern with the coaching staff in that game and at large, seeing that on the sidelines was not a good sign for me.
Yeah, and
I don't think that there's anything deep there, though.
I think this is kind of my point to it, and there's different circumstances behind it too, because obviously after the Michigan loss last year at Ohio State, they had a players-only meeting where they had those conversations with each other.
Yeah.
And if you've ever watched an interview or read an article from an Ohio State player of last year's team where they talk about that meeting in particular, it was the players and Ryan Day.
Yeah.
And he opened up the meeting and said, get it out. Whatever you have to say it. And players said that they called each other out and that it was tough conversations. And that is what helped drive them to be the team that they needed to be to bring home the trophy. And
so you're welcome.
So I think that those I think those conversations are so necessary sometimes. But I do agree, having it out there on the sideline, maybe not the best. I do think people are hyper reading into it, obviously, because that's what we all do.
How many of those, and maybe not to that level, but how many of those conversations happen that the cameras just don't catch on the sideline?
For sure. But I don't think it's a bad thing. But let's talk about Central Michigan for
42-0.
My biggest question. What side is Connor going to stand on?
I don't think he's welcome.
Well, he can't at any of them. So,
42-0 is the answer. That's not even the question you asked. But
no thoughts.
No, I have no thoughts. About Central Michigan.
42-0.
Fire up chips. But
would you have 42-0?
42-0. Fire up chips, but also go blue. So
you'll be surprised to know that I still have Michigan winning. I thought I had you for a second. Yeah. Michigan 35, Central Michigan 3.
Yeah, I just and.
They're what, like 25-point favorites? What is it? 27.5
It's a lot. I mean, and who knows? This is the one of the Sharon suspensions. And I saw somebody. I wish I could give him credit. I don't even know who it was. But someone had said they were talking about Sharon's suspension starts the morning, so he can be with the team this week. Starts the morning of the Central game. And someone said, but who will mismanage the clock? Which I thought was a great take, to be honest with you, because you laugh so you don't cry sometimes. Who will mismanage the clock in his absence?
Well, and this is the more interesting, and obviously it's going to be next week's episode, but isn't there a thing with his suspension where he can't even be with the team for practices?
He can this week. So it starts next week. It starts Saturday morning of the Central game, and he cannot be back until after the Nebraska game.
Which it's going to be real interesting.
Your season now, and this is another reason, and then we'll move on here, but this is another reason why 2024 feels like, or why 25 feels like 24 with a better quarterback, with a better offensive weapon calling the shots, is last year, very different game in a lot of ways, but some eerie similarities where Texas came in week 2 and everyone said this is going to be a big defining game, and it sure was. And then you had a week with a lesser opponent, and then you had a massive week 4. Now you got that game at home, and Michigan pulled it out against USC. It feels like the same thing, a week 2 game where Michigan got in a much different way, but just got flat out beat. Week 3 is a recovery week. This is also the week that Davis Warren threw like 3 interceptions to Arkansas State, so let's try to avoid that. But then week 4, except you have to go on the road against a Nebraska team. Michigan gets to define their season here in a couple weeks. You get to decide what kind of season you're going to have, because if you drop Nebraska, you have no mulligans left. Joel Klatt has rightfully said no team is getting into the college football playoff 9-3 this year.
No, as they shouldn't.
10, you better be 10-2, because if you're 9-3, you ain't going. If I'm Michigan, I would like to keep that mulligan in my pocket. You've got Big Ten games. You've got Big Ten. The Nebraska game starts off the Big Ten schedule. Everything's in front of you. In theory, everything's still in front of you. But you're going to have to play a lot better than what I just saw. And maybe, as wild as this is, maybe the Sharon suspension is exactly the shakeup Michigan needs for a couple weeks. Who's to say? It seemed to work out with the Harbaugh thing. 42-0. Hey, let's go real quick here to our stupid genius upset picks of the week. You still lead 13.5-0.
You had me nervous with the Kansas pick this weekend. I was
close with Kansas there. Again, the way this works is you must pick a team that is at least a 5-point underdog. If you get it right, you get however many points that spread was at time of recording, because those do change. And the winner at the end of the year, I don't know. We'll have to come up with a prize of some kind, or maybe not, because I'm down 13.5 to nothing.
I was going to say, I don't think we've ever done it. It's just been for fun.
All right. Stupid genius upset pick of the week. I'm going to go first this week because I've let you go
because
first.
I'm choosing right now.
You're choosing right now?
I have 3 options.
There are some decent options.
Me, I can never decide.
This one, I was shocked by the spread. So this felt like an easy.
I hope you pick
slap that button as quick as you can. Tennessee +7.
Okay.
Georgia goes to Tennessee. Georgia is 7-point favorites right now. That's insane. Give me Tennessee +7 immediately.
You know what?
At Neyland?
You know what?
At Neyland?
I'm doing this. I'm doing it.
Can I already tell you who yours is?
Wait.
Okay.
I want to you can.
Okay.
But I want to start off by saying I was going to actually pick Tennessee, Georgia, but now that you did, I'm not. I'm going to go a little crazier. So I want you to choose it.
Because I know you. You're so
true test of our friendship right now.
We're both massive fans of our teams. We are both, I think, pretty objective, even with scarlet and gray and maize and blue colored glasses on. Like, we obviously wear those, but like, I feel like we're fair. We're usually pretty fair. Where you start just going with your heart is when you start picking stupid genius upsets, which means you absolutely are taking South Florida over Miami.
Absolutely am. It's written down right there, middle of the road, baby.
Listen,
South Florida over Carson Beck and Miami. Give it to me.
First of all, your lips to God's ears.
Oh, man.
South Florida is already easily the best story of the college football season so far.
I don't know how well you looked at that, but can you guess what my other option was? Because that was 2 out of my 3.
Georgia Tech.
No. This is a team I harp on all the time. Texas A&M, Notre Dame.
Oh.
Notre Dame 6.5 point dog or favorites right now.
Well, but anytime that you interact with Notre Dame, the opposite happens. So
that's not true. I would have predicted them to.
Okay.
Every time I predict them to lose, they do.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. South Florida will not beat Miami. Like, beating Boise was impressive. Florida was wild. True story. I turned the Florida. So Michigan was starting right as that game was ending. And I watched Grammatica miss the field goal. And I went, oh, that's a bummer. And I flipped over to the Michigan game. I thought it was over. And then I got a text that said something about a bunch of mid teams this year, including Florida. And I thought, yeah, that they struggled today. And then I saw the highlight popped up and I went, oh, that game wasn't over? It was incredible.
The one thing
They cannot do it a third time, or can they? I hope.
This is the thing that I love the most. You maybe have seen this viral clip going around in the press box of the South Florida coaches sprinting through the hallways after beating Florida. And you know me, those coaches are me.
Yes,
like me sitting up there years ago at the Penn State Stadium when Ohio State was driving out and just Cade Stover game. Birth
22,
just me trying to hold myself back from sprinting around that stadium.
We don't do it much anymore because you're usually split off for Ohio State. I'll usually split off to the Michigan games. But in years past, before we were credentialed with Michigan, we would do Ohio State games together. And I've sat in the press box with you, and I'm sitting there, just Ohio State will score, and I'll write down a note, and you're over there going, let's go.
Oh, every single time.
It's incredible.
They say over the press box speakers, this is a working press box.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the back there just fist pumping, just having my own time, just loving it.
If you have not listened to last year's Michigan USC episode, you need to go back and listen to it because there's a section there where I talk about the weirdest cheering press box situation I've ever seen.
I remember that.
It involves the band Metallica. It's wild. Let's wrap up with a little bit of pick'em. For as bad of a slate of games as week 2 had.
Oh, this one's got a doozy.
This is fantastic. Just real quick. You already know this one for me. Georgia at Tennessee. I'm taking the Vols in this one.
I'm going Tennessee.
I like it as well. Clemson at Georgia Tech was one that I nearly took. I felt like it was too obvious. Clemson looks rough, but I think they get back right this weekend. I hope not. I hope not, but I got Clemson.
I do too. And Clemson surprises me with how much they've struggled this year. The LSU one didn't throw me off that bad because LSU's a great team. I thought they'd pick it up this last week, and they struggled again against Troy.
Yeah.
And it was like 17 or 16-10 when I was leaving the Buckeye game. I got to my car and saw they had taken the lead, and it was basically over from there. But man.
And again, Troy is not a terrible team, but they should have no business being in that game.
No way.
I was going to have us pick Wisconsin, Alabama. We don't need to pick that one. That one should be pretty evident.
Wisconsin, go Badgers.
You took you did. You took USF at Miami. I'm going to take Miami, but I hope I'm wrong.
I probably am, so that's a smart choice, but I just had to.
Florida LSU, you already know. I have planted the flag, if you will, for LSU all off season into this season. I'll take LSU.
I'm going LSU. After what I saw from Florida, I am not a believer. I thought that would be a tough game for them, and I think it still will be. I just don't see the Gators getting it done.
A&M at Notre Dame is maybe. Tennessee, Georgia might be, but I was going to say A&M at Notre Dame is probably the creme de la creme this weekend. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see A&M win this game because a 2-loss Notre Dame team with their schedule and no conference is done.
Please.
A Notre Dame team who plays nobody else. I mean, they play Boise, which is not going to be a good win now, and they play USC. Notre Dame loses this game, they're done. Yeah, they could go 10-2, but you have no conference, and your only 2 major games you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
May A&M beat them, but I think Notre Dame gets it done at home. They're desperate. They have to.
I've got Texas A&M.
I hope you're right, man. I
have said it before, and I will say it again. Notre Dame are frauds. They're like Penn State to me. When it comes to a big game, they just don't get it done. And until they do.
And now that you've said it, Notre Dame is certainly going to win. Why would you do that?
I will believe that Texas A&M are frauds after that. You can't change my mind.
Subscribe, rate, review wherever you're listening right now at RivalPod across social media and RivalPod.com. Don't forget to get yourself some merch at RivalPod.com or jump down in the show notes. Get yourself something from Homage. Enjoy your weekend of college football. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.
Yes, Mr. Gecko, you're a huge inspiration to us all. But who was your muse?
Oh, my dear old Nan. She imparted many wise words to me. She would say, never let the fame get to your head, always remember who you are, and let people get more than just savings with Geico's fast and friendly claim support. I lived up to her advice, and now anyone can file a claim anywhere and anytime. I miss her so much.
Did she go somewhere?
Yeah, extended quilting trip.
Ah. Get more than just savings. Get more with Geico.